Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Again, we're in an open roundtable session, and I say that only because we haven't got to the roundtables that Zach and I have done some pre-discussion on and created some outlines for. So this is open, as in we don't know, how it's going to go, but there is a very specific topic, just like in the last group of videos, and that are the Elythians. We ran into an issue. I'll avoid saying problem. But we definitely ran into an issue that needs to be discussed, and it's something that Zach and I have even discussed, should we even put this on video? And I think it's fair that we put it on video only because it's something that has been discussed, and we've had some concerns about this. And then we can let you guys throw your input in and kind of go from there as Zach fancies up his screen a little. So, Zach, do you want to go ahead and explain this issue? And
yeah, sure. Here's how it works. I could just do like score marks.
Yeah, that's true.
You really could, but on the one side, we've got.
Well, let's do this. I think because this will help in putting together upcoming roundtables. Mm-hmm. We discussed. At a high level, just for outlines for giving us extreme focus on recording videos, we discussed quest system, we discussed skill systems, we discussed weapons, we discussed mechanics. Yeah,
we discussed a lot of different systems and how they correlate.
And hacking. We got into a lot of really cool and fun stuff, but we ran and even back to the guild wars.
Yep.
and all of that.
But a lot of the stuff we came up with was very, 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 very human centric,
or pretty much all human centric. And the Elythians were just kind of sitting over there and frowning and just watching.
Computers. We had
nanotechnology.
Nanotech. I got to get that out so Jason is happy. We had. Biotech, and by that I mean like biological augmentations. We had hacking. We had virtual reality skill sets.
Amazing weaponry.
Laser guns. Let's just say lasers. Because the lasers are pretty much the summation of all of human technology, really. I think.
And flying guns.
I don't really like lasers. I like projectiles more than lasers.
And with what Zach's writing right here, I'm sure those of you that are listening to this video or watching this video, and even those of you joining us in Skype right now, are thinking, well, this isn't a big deal. It would really involve us getting into all of the different things that we were talking about, but we got so technical. Zach and I just back and forth in our discussions, we really defined an awesome Blade Runner type world. And then we look back at the Elythians and we're like, oh yeah. And does that make sense?
I see what you mean.
What's the question? Is the question, are Elythians going to exist, or are Elythians going to be playable, or what's the question?
Couple of knees.
Yeah, the question was...
The question's, about those Elythians.
Yeah, are we even going to worry about putting... Are they necessary? Yeah, do we have to have them in the game right now?
As playable or as existent? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Well, you're saying we've sent probes out and found a planet that is Elythia, which is the only one that's suitable for us. So
we've named Elythia.
We've named Elythia, we could name anything. But yeah, we found a rock that is currently barren of sentient life. And we've settled on it.
We've discovered a mineral of the many minerals that's called arcanosite, and we've discovered that manufacturing it into different forms of drug-like substances allowed for
some pretty nifty results.
Yeah.
Snort a line of that stuff and you really can fly out your window.
Exactly. But it's really hard to paint this picture, and I apologize for that, without getting into so many different things.
I'm just going to write this out. It took us months to even get to this point, because it was discussing all of these systems in depth, and how they would work and how they could be incorporated. And then it was on the flip side, it became like, all right, well, how do we balance this? And some of these, it's pretty easy to come up with a way that you could balance it. But there are other considerations as well.
Complex, highly technical trade systems that we had that rely heavily on some pretty advanced technology wouldn't make a lot of sense for the Elythians to use. Of course, we did, play with the idea of, we've been there for over 100 years, and, Elythians have adopted some of our practices, some of our technology, and so they can access things like that. And then that means you could, of course, have the Elythian purebloods or the purists that believe that that's just, a mortal sin. But we had so many awesome things in the human sector that we started, looking at it like a teeter-totter, and it was just all weighted in one direction.
Well, I'm wondering if a certain amount of that is down to the fact that I mean, the little chart you've drawn could equally just on the left say technology, technology, and normal needs. What I'm saying is it come out magic? Just saying magic.
Or do we want to explore the idea of just completely integrating humans and Elythians? So it's not like, I mean, we've discussed that before, but where the Elythians are.
I would like to see some sort of sentient race on the planet. I just think that it's entity. Yeah, I think the idea of humans going to XYZ planet that is barren and everything is human centric kind of been beaten to death repeatedly and buried in a shallow grave. But I can see, I totally see where you're coming from on this.
Yeah, and after we're done with this, I want the title of that particular game so I can go play it.
Well, I think you're. Yeah, I mean that's the thing, really. You've got technology and you've got magic, and I think it's in your nature. You personally are interested in the nanotech and the hacking and the stuff like that, which has pushed you to have more thoughts about them. Obviously,
yeah, I kind of hear what you're saying, but here's where you kind of run into some problems. Okay, give me a hacking equivalent for magic.
ESP.
Nice.
Okay.
Write it down. Ideas. I see your point, but let's see if we can.
Okay, but I'm not done yet. Let's say we've got, and one thing I actually didn't list up here, which I'll list now because I talked a lot about it. Cyber technology, like robotic augmentations to the human body in a lot of ways. So, cyber tech. Any ideas?
Not necessary.
No. Transfiguration.
I don't think that comes under. Yeah, I mean it's.
Or even the idea of
they are magical by starters. That is something that we've had to add to humans because we know that humans can't currently do that. They could be quite easily.
Yeah, but if you think about it this way, if you've got the ability to augment humans, and then you augment a Elythian, you have a power level.
No. What I'm saying is the cyber that you've had to add cyber tech in order to augment humans. Well, you could quite easily have a race of Elythians who are chimeric,
or who augment themselves through magic.
They could be shapeshifters.
But as virtual reality, I was gonna suggest Spirit World.
Hey, there you go. See, totally original.
Yeah, no, I'm not into that either.
Well, like virtual reality hasn't been explored either. I mean,
no, absolutely. I hear you.
When you say virtual reality, I mean, to what end? As a training?
I mean literally as an immersive, an immersive internet. If you don't want to use the term VR, if
that more or less you'll need to jack into and
a virtual internet.
That comes down to the ESP again. I think that comes into that bracket really.
Well, as far as communication, I can see that, yeah.
What else? Nanotech.
It's not that.
Would be, something you certainly. I mean, to take the traditional view of the sort of elemental division of magic into fire, water, earth, yada yada. Because I've had various ideas about in the sort of the strange thoughts that appear in my head are things like, well, if you've got magic as part of as something that everyone does, then it's going to be used for everyday life. So if you've got earth, like people who can control the earth and shape the earth, being going into construction would seem like a good career move. So you'd have, and that would have a knock-on effect on like Elythian buildings, which might be made. They would look like sort of adobe, or even like sort of stalactites and stalagmites, where that rather than baking bricks and piling them up and sticking them together, literally start.
Elythians for reference.
But I just want to point out that I'm not arguing for the existence of them. I'm just answering your questions that you've had.
Yeah.
But I do want to point out what's the problem with having Elythians exist but as NPCs, or what's the problem with having Elythian artifacts or
I have an idea there, actually.
Elythian lore and Elythian technology being scattered around the world in dungeons and stuff that people can explore.
Wait a minute, Nato. What were you going to say?
Right. This is a little not a little complicated, but basically you have them. Basically, you have a plot in the game as you progress through it.
That's good.
Never been done.
I think we're onto something. Keep going.
Playing a few games like that before.
Basically, you have a hero class, but a hero race. In terms of you get to a certain point in the plot, and basically war breaks out. The Elythians try and start to kill the humans. There are human sympathizers that want to help the Elythians because they are fed up with how the humans are treating the Elythians. What?
Nothing.
Oh, Avatar. Gotcha.
Yeah, a little bit. And then you start getting...
That movie bugged me.
Everything bugs you, Nelson.
Well, be sure there were evil corporations, man. Giovanni Ribisi was like the corporate gnome, whatever.
But you start getting Elythians that have access to this technology, that have access to augmentations, and can hack and have all this stuff. That would be a fix, but it wouldn't be a.
I would push to, at the bare minimum, have them at least as a dead society.
Yeah,
I would like to see some society different to human society having taken place. Like the Incas and that sort of ancient society, a long-lived, technologically or magically advanced society.
I think they should exist as a class that's just not playing.
I would like them. If out of choice, I would have them in the game and playable. But
I'm actually starting to really like that idea of having them as a race that existed previously on the world. But
it
also
does interesting ideas about whether, because it comes back to that "are we alone" thing. We found an alien planet with an alien race that used to exist, but for all we know, there could be some connection to humanity from the dim and distant past. They could be, they could be the Incas. For all we know, right. Quetzalcoatl sent out a spaceship before the Spanish arrived, and fair point.
But think about this though: like the Elythians did have magic, they did have this special power, and there's an entire group of archaeological. I'm bad at pronunciation. Archaeological people and teams digging up these artifacts, trying to learn about this magic, and maybe there could be something of like a subclass or something that you can start to play later on in the game, where you can actually tap into. You go around on these archaeological dig sites, try to figure out how they use this magic, and actually start to incorporate that as your own player. Where the Elythians are kind of this ancient civilization that died out, where you're still learning from them, which also leaves the possibility open for Elythians returning sometime, because maybe they did leave.
Well, let's do this. Let's do this, gentlemen.
Sorry, one other thing.
Wait. Oh, because here's why. Let's go ahead and wrap this one up. Yep. We're almost at 15 minutes, and we'll come right back with a discussion. So hold that thought, Gavin. Thanks, guys.